What's up, everybody? It's your boy Forex Funded. As always, links in the description if you're looking for my Instagram, my free Telegram, my paid Discord where you get all my analysis, signals, education, etc. This is just a little update video on gold because what happened today, even I wasn't expecting. Um, but that happens in the market. So we know that going into the week, right? We were expecting a big bullish push, which is what we got. But this big bearish pullback, I wasn't expecting it, if I'm going to be honest, right? If anything, I was expecting more of a pullback, into this golden zone, which it just didn't give us. We just kept going down. One thing I do want you guys to note, though, is this prior big 4 hour fib. Well, even though we're on daily, I consider that, a 4 hour fib, whatever. Look at how we are using our extensions as perfect take profits, right? So we hit our 27 and fell. Then we came back up, hit our 61 and fell, right? So I'm still very bullish on gold, right? So that can give us a very good next target for buys whenever we're able to get into buys, right? We can look at the 55.83, which we already had a take profit up there from our weekly analysis video that was at 55.68. So that's a very good zone. um as I mentioned, I'm still very bullish, right? There's no reason for gold to go into a bear market right now. If you don't believe me, go look at gold on the weekly chart. How many times in here do you see a truly bearish market, right? This, to me, this is consolidation with minor term bearishness, because you're going to go down and up and down and up, and it's a consolidation, so you have buys and sells. Over here is where I see actual bearish price, where you're having bearish price action for more than 6 months, right? This was a while. This was 1,500 days. So what is that? 5 years, right? Whereas even over here, right, this high to this low is, you can argue this is bearish, right? I'll give you that. So you can argue there's two times where you're bearish when everything else is bullish, right? So when people ask me, "Oh, is gold bearish?" I almost never say yes, because to me, when you ask me what is a direction, I just think long term, right? Long term, obviously, still bullish. You know, the mid and short term, yeah, it very well could be bearish, but does that mean we're gonna always take every single sell? No, it doesn't, right? I would say I'm about 85-15. So 85% of my trades are buys and 15% are sells. And from those same numbers, my buys are always more profitable than my sells. So even in times like this, where there are ways you could have sold, right? Like when you break your support and you retest it, and then you use a fib and you have a perfect golden zone. The same way I teach you guys to take buys and to trade, right? You could have taken that. Did I? No, I didn't. I didn't care to take it, right? As I said, I'm still very bullish on gold. At the end of the day, we're in a time of war, right? But the thing is everybody and their mother and grandmother and everybody is trying to buy, and you can't just have a straight bullish market with no, you know, obstacles. So for me, this is just an obstacle. So let's just take a look at what we might be looking at. So first fib I would look at would be the prior higher low, right? Which we can see we have tested golden zone, but we broke golden zone by a lot. So it's basically telling me that they're gonna try to go to 78%, right? Now you can say let's do a fib from here too, but we're not gonna do that, right? We're just gonna take our fib all the way to the bottom of the trend and see if there's anything else that might help us, right? So this is our longer term, and this is our shorter term fib, right? So it would have been a lot nicer if we had, a 50 next to our 78, for a double fib, but we don't. So for me, what I'm going to be looking for, if we're still going to have more pullback, is going to be that 78 zone. If that 78 is destroyed, I'm going to be looking at 50 and 61 of the longer term, right? Ideally, I would like to see it be the 50 because 50 keeps the structure intact, right? After we break this low right here, price starts to look bearish, right? It might not go bearish, we might not break this low, but it will look bearish and it'll look like you're really opening the doors to not just hop off of 61, but to come towards 7-8. And if you did come to 7-8, what might you have on the daily, which would be a double bottom, right? Which is fine, right? If they want to put a double bottom in to go higher, that's fine, right? Because that would just look like a W reversal, right? Um, but that's where my mind is at right now. I don't feel like they're gonna push price that low, right? I feel like they're gonna want to use this 78%, but I could be wrong, you know. And even then, at the end of the day, it's also possible that they're happy with this pullback that they did, and that we will just resume pushing from there, right? If that is the case, what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to be on like a 15 minute, and we're gonna want to watch the structure build bullish, right? So right now you have your first little bit of bullish price action, right? So you have a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, and a higher low. So if you get another higher high, I will be looking to buy, right? I'll be looking to buy that pullback that establishes another higher low, right? For me, looking at this chart, where I would say, all right, they definitely don't want lower is when we break this high right here. When you break this high right here, it's basically that point of no return, right? I don't want to say no return because in this market's been wild. But look at what that same area is, right? That's a prior support resistance, right? Just pulling it over, this was resistance, and then we broke it and we were supported by it, right? Um, so that is basically what I'm going to be looking for going forward. See if we can have this lower time frame price action stay bullish, but it might not. Like I said, they might want lower. From my experience and what I teach, when you break a level, when you break a fib level by more than 50%, that's like the market telling you that you want to come lower, right? Or to the next level, right? Just like here, you have a massive 15-minute or 1 hour rejection candle, right? Right here, you have a massive 1 hour rejection candle from 50, but you broke it by so much, it's like telling you we want to go to 6-1. And we did exactly that, right? But at the same time, there are times where that doesn't always work, right? For instance, you guys know I was buying over here. We bought over here. We had 700 pips and then we hit break even. Here is an example where we broke our 61 by more than half and didn't end up going to 78, right? So this same kind of thing could happen for this bullish leg, because if you look at it, they're basically the same. We broke 61 by a very good amount, almost tapped 78, and then just reversed. Here, we broke 61 by a good amount, almost tapped 78. Maybe we're going to reverse. Using this same fib, this bearish fib, you can see how we are respecting, for the most part, the fib extensions, which is what you use fib extensions for, right? Um, so for me, it's really just monitoring the price action and seeing what happens. Um, but aside from that, I can't give you guys much because I don't care to say, oh, this is our low, I'm gonna buy and I know I'm right. No, I need to first, I'm gonna watch for the reaction. So we do have a reaction from the level. It broke it by a lot more than I would like, but if we do get a reaction, then we're gonna be able to take entry. So for me, when it's like a reversal like this, I always want to wait for confirmation. So initially I had this fib pulled out right here, and if we would have tapped into 78 and rejected, I would have bought. We didn't. We tapped 50, and then that was it, right? So what I need to see is that confirmation via a new higher high on this 15-minute chart. Now keep in mind that is still internal structure, because if you look at the overall thing, even on 15, not even going to an hour, just 15, where did these lows come from, right? This low, where did it come from? It came from here, right? So we need to break, as I was mentioning, this lower high for us to, as I mentioned, be basically confirmed as bullish, right? So if you were to see that, you'll get a pullback, and that's another buying opportunity as well. At the same time that that happens, you might be lucky enough to also get your EMAs to cross over around there, right? You'll get your 21 or whatever you use to cross over whatever you use, your lower crossing over your faster. And then that retest in itself is a buying opportunity, right? You always want that to mix with other things like a fib, support resistant, range point, whatever you look at. But that first retest after a fresh crossover is normally very, very strong, right? This isn't really supposed to be much of an educational video, but I will show you, since it's on the chart, where that happened, right? So here we have a crossover, and here is your first ever retest that, it was just very valid, and you just came shooting back down, right? I'll give you guys one more, right? So here you have a crossover. Here are your first retests, and then you just shot, right? So, and there's not a time frame for that. It's whatever time frame that you have the crossover on. You can go to 1 hour and you can see the same thing, right? 1 hour, you have a crossover here, and here you have your retests, and you go up. So you just use it to help determine trend. Now, with that being said, you can see that 1 hour did flip back to a bearish EMA. It's not the end of the world, right? But as I tell everybody, you guys know I like to have my 4 hour and 1 hour lined up, right? Right now, 4 hour is bullish, 1 hour is bearish. So not the best sign, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the tell all, do all, you know. Um, so yeah, this video is already longer than I wanted it to be. 11 minutes, 12 minutes, but hopefully you guys are able to take some knowledge from this, and you guys can see, what I'm doing. And let me mark up my chart so I can send it to you guys as well, in case you're lazy fucks. So, as I mentioned, I'm either going to look, if we break lower, I'm gonna be looking for a possible 7-8 rejection, and I'll look to buy, or I will look, to keep this as a low, or even just this as a low, us to make a new high, a pullback, and then get in and look to target here. But we'll see what happens. And if you're in the chart analysis, you will know what we do, because you get all my analysis, all my signals, everything. So if you're not a member of the chart analysis, you're really lacking. We catch, excuse me, almost 1,000 pips every single week. I believe last week was the first week in about 5 weeks where we didn't catch more than 1,000, and we still caught, I think it was 450 pips, right? In this market, not a lot, but when you look at the past performance for the past 2 months, there are weeks where we had 4,000. There are weeks where we had 2,000. There are weeks where we had 2,500. It's all on my Instagram. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Sorry, it's kind of on the longer end of things. You guys know how I am with talking. Hope to see some new faces in the chart analysis soon.